So, you want to be a content creator, you want to put yourself out there, make yourself more visible. I am going to teach you how to do that and some pitfalls and some common mistakes that actually happen when you're trying to put yourself out there as a content creator, coach, just anyone who is trying to put themselves online. Whether you're trying to monetize it or you're just doing it as a self-expression, okay? You might hear me kind of breathing like a little bit more because I'm actually pretty sick right now. Had some stomach issues, so won't get into detail. You guys know what that means. So I've been dehydrated. Everything that I'm putting in is just coming out. So I've pretty much not been eating since last night, and yeah, pretty dehydrated. But I just couldn't sleep all day. That's just not who I am. You know, I rested and I had this burst of energy. So I thought, okay, let me just come on here. I had this thought that came to me. It's been a minute since I've been on YouTube or wherever I post this. So here you go. You're welcome. So here's the thing, okay? You want to first realize that the whole point of you putting out content is the joy that you're gonna feel from the freedom, from being able to express yourself the way you want to express yourself, right? The joy you're gonna get from being able to monetize it if you're trying to, you know, just be a real creator who does entertainment, right? Or if you want to be a coach, like there's so many things you can do as you're putting yourself online, right? And different ways you can do it, but that's why you're doing it, okay? No one's forcing you to do it, right? That's the number one. Second thing is, once you realize that, to make any big change, especially a change where you're putting yourself out there more, it's gonna be a little difficult at first. So then that begs the question, well then, if it's gonna be difficult, why would I do it? Again, because you want the joy, because you want the freedom, right? That comes with it. So if I could trade places all over again, go back in time, would I still have put myself out there to make my first $1 million as a coach? And the answer is 100% yes, right? Like who wouldn't, right? It's absolutely changed my life, given my dream lifestyle, and opens up so many options and doors for me now in the future, right? Not only that, I think it really changed me as a person. It allowed me to really reflect on lots of things, figure out who I really am, who I want to be in this life. And so we'll talk about that more a little bit later, maybe in future videos, but it is going to be difficult. So I think what's going to set you apart, a man or woman, is that if you realize that it's going to be a little difficult, it's going to be uncomfortable, you're actually going to be able to do it. It's when you don't expect it to be difficult and then you start posting content and it is, and you're not getting engagement, no one's watching, all that stuff. That's when it starts to get even more difficult and you end up quitting, right? Because no one told you it's going to be difficult, okay? Do I want it to be difficult for you? No, right? You know, when I went all in on my coaching business and I was putting a lot of content out, especially on other platforms, I was just so aligned. I was so joyous. Like 99% of it felt just like easy and joyful. And then 1% to maybe 10, 20% at times felt a little difficult, right? Just being very honest with you guys, keeping it real, you know? By the way, if you see me continuously sweating, it's because I think I was running a slight fever, so my body is kind of just releasing all that water, all right? But I want to do this anyway. I want to show up for you guys. This is actually making me feel better. I can't sleep anymore, right? So that's what you want to do, is you want to realize it's going to be difficult to put yourself out there, okay? Then I think the main reason why most people don't put themselves out there is because of what people will think of them, right? Lo kya kahenge, फिर देसी. And so that's just the most common one. That one affected me for a while too, but I just started following and modeling people I looked up to who had the results I want or the lifestyle I wanted. And I just asked myself, like, what would they do, right? And they had the same challenges of being judged by family and friends, which is the biggest thing that actually holds you back. And I will say, fuck the family and friends, okay? And I say that as someone who loves my family and friends. But what I really mean is all the relatives, all the old friends, even current friends that may judge you for putting yourself out there. Because you're not just putting yourself out there, you're putting a new version of yourself out there, right? There's versions of you, there's thoughts you have, there's expressions you have, whether it's, you know, you're educating someone, whether you're entertaining someone, that no one may know about you, right? This is finally your outlet. And that's very scary, right? Your brain is going to be very, very scared. You're going to feel a fear in your body, right? Again, that's normal. For me, what really helped me was when I decided that none of these motherfuckers are going to come pay my bills, right? Most of these motherfuckers don't ever talk to me, right? Like, they're there, right? I can love them, I can, like, you know, care about them from a distance, but as you evolve in life, as you go through different phases, everyone gets busy in their own fucking life. No one really gives a shit about you, which is the good news. Now, Will people still judge you? Maybe, right? I never really got any negative feedback from anyone, right? But they may talk about me behind my back, but I don't care. You also get the creeps who are like the weird relatives, kind of watch you secretly, you know? They'll never comment or like any of your stuff. A lot of you guys talk to me about that, how it's frustrating. I've been there, right? I used to wonder that too. Like, if I saw any of my relatives or friends posting something, I'd just like it if I saw it, right? Even if I didn't watch the whole thing or even if I wasn't interested, but I wouldn't get the same back. So I don't know why people do that. I don't know if it's because they think they're not supposed to, because they're not really your ideal viewer, or if they feel, or if they're just genuinely jealous and envious and they just don't want to, right? Very weird thing. But it also kind of shows you, again, like, why are you not putting yourself out there for these motherfuckers, right? And the people who don't even support you, right? So why are you not being who you want to be for them? Me making my first $1 million as a coach, online coach, by putting myself out there would have never been possible if I continued to stay worried about what this relative or that friend or this person will think, right? You have to say fuck them. And I say that as a Desi man very consciously because, you know, in our culture, Desi meaning South Asian, right? And the South Asian American, in our culture, you know, family, your relatives, friends, like all that's a very, very big deal. There's a lot of closeness. There's a lot of, you know, beautiful things in that. There's also a lot of negativity, like there is everywhere else, that we're all constantly trying to solve and improve as a generation. Okay, that's just the beauty of this life, right? The continual process of that. But some of the negativity is, you know, this extreme concern for what people will think of you, right? This extreme fear of being kicked out of the tribe, this extreme fear of being judged for being a bad person, right? A bad, you know, religious person, a bad, whatever it is, fill in the blank, right? And so because of that, most of you will never put yourself out there. And what a fucking tragedy. It's just a tragedy, bro. Like you're here, you've been given this life, or you chose to come here, and then you don't do and you don't show up the way you want to because of what people will think. And listen, I say that knowing how difficult it is, okay? I'm not telling you to rewire your whole brain overnight, but what I am telling you is to just start thinking overall from on a big picture level. Is it really worth it, you not putting yourself out there, right? It never is, you know? So and it's not just my culture, like I said, right? Even if you're not Desi, even if you're not South Asian American like I am, this still applies to you, right? That fear will be there, what people will think. I work with clients from all over the world, different cultures, different religions, atheists, whatever, right? And everyone has the same issue, right? It's this innate fear that we have of being judged. It's human nature, nothing wrong with that. What I say is let the fear be there. Let the fear be there and then act anyway, right? The fear will go away. It's kind of like, I was watching a video of Beyonce one day. Biggest inspiration. Her creativity, the amount of effort and hard work she puts in to be the world icon she is. Hats off, right? So I was watching one of her videos yesterday about something she was creating, and you know, she said that she felt really, really nervous, was regretting when she finally had the cameras on. She was recording that video, like, why did I even think about doing this? Why did I sign up to do this, right? And for someone like her at her level to be thinking that every time the camera goes on, right, to feel that nervousness, that fear of being judged, just goes to show it's a human thing. You're going to feel it at every level, right? But she also said that she knew that it was the right thing. She knew that it was going to excite her. She knew that that nervousness, that fear was a good sign because that's something that she had to do. She wanted to express that part of herself, put it out into the world, right? So I'm not saying you have to be a Beyonce. I'm not saying you have to be at that level day one. You can get there eventually, right? But I share that because you're going to feel the fear regardless, okay? And so I think one of the things that really helps is, again, realizing that a lot of the people who you're afraid of judging you, first of all, may not, because everyone's just so busy with their own lives. Two, the other thing is that they probably just, even if they do, you're not going to find out about it, right? Because they might just talk about it with someone else or might think it to themselves and they'll move on, right? So like no one really cares about you or judges you as much as you think they do, right? Now I may have stalkers, I may have like weird creeps and people who kind of like follow me with everything I do. I kind of am aware of that, but that's fine, right? That's kind of like the price you pay to show up the way you want and to impact people the way you want to, you know? And so I'm never going to stop that. Like for me, it's totally worth it, the trade-off, right? And I think my personality in general, just the way I am and who I've become as a man, the way I project myself as well, I don't have to deal with like a lot of like public or online hate. Of course, I'm relatively small at this point. Like I'm maybe bigger onto other platforms that you may not see me on right now. But like I said, even to make your first $1 million, you don't have to be someone who has 1 million followers, right? I certainly did it, not even close. And so if you're doing it because you want to monetize it, you certainly don't have to go viral. You certainly don't have to put yourself out there in a way where you're super uncomfortable, where like, I don't want all these people to know about me at once. You gotta stay in your lane. You can niche down as well. But again, don't focus and worry so much about what your family and friends will think of you. You're letting those few people literally stop you from living your dream life, creating what you want to create, doing what you came here to do, right? And why the fuck would you do that? Stop it. Stop it. Right? If you need me to smack you down, I will. Happy to do that anytime. Right? With love, of course, as your coach and as someone who just really cares about you, right? Like, even as I create this is an example for you as a content creator. I know that there might be some weirdos or some creeps or some people who kind of watch all my stuff but then don't interact with me in real life. They don't ever like my stuff, but they kind of secretly watch everything I say. So I can start to think about them, and I can kind of, you know, distill my message down and kind of lose the message and be concerned with what they will think. Or I can continuously speak to you, my ideal viewer, right? And so that takes practice, but I always say, think of the ideal viewer who's going to watch you. In the beginning, no one's watching you. In the beginning, no one watched me either, right? But even if you have one person watching you, and then 10, and then 20, and 30, and 40, those are actual people who are literally watching you, right? For one reason or another. And that's a big deal, right? That's how you get started. So allow some people to see you, watch you. If you need to take extreme measures, like blocking people or whatever it is that's going to make you feel safe and comfortable, do it, right? Do whatever you need to do to start putting yourself out there. I think that leads me to my next point, which is, if you're making a transition as a content creator and you want to put yourself more out there, one of the things that's very important is you want to give more security and stability. You want to bring that into your life as much as you can. Because when you're putting yourself out there, you're doing something very scary. It's going to create a lot of uncertainty in your life, okay? So like we know from the 6 human needs, certainty is one of them, uncertainty is one of them. When you have too much uncertainty, right, your life is just chaotic. You're constant in like this stress survival mode, fight or flight, right? That's not sustainable. It's not healthy, okay? So you need a certain level of certainty as well, right? So we need certainty and we need the uncertainty, which people call variety, right? You need both in life, all right? If you have too much certainty, life just gets boring, monotonous, and you want to kill yourself, right? If you have too much uncertainty, life gets stressful, fight or flight, and you want to kill yourself, right? Both of them are unhealthy, right? So I would say when you're increasing levels of uncertainty in your life by putting yourself out there, you want to increase levels of certainty too. So that means figuring out who are your ride or dies, right? Who are the people that you can really count on, right? Is it going to be your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, your parents, your siblings, your family, your best friends? Find your group, find your people, even if it's one person. You may be in a phase of life right now where you're not really close to anyone, even if it's just one person. And if you don't have that one person, find one person. Okay, there's no excuse. I don't care if you're a fucking introvert or not. We have apps these days, there's social media. Go on a fucking dating app. There's like friendship options there too, right? So like if you want to become friends with the same gender, whatever the case is, there's meetup.com. There's so many ways you can meet people, right? You just need one person that you can like really bring into your life, because I genuinely have learned through my experience that having solid relationships, people that add that security to your life, is super important, right? When you don't, at least for me, right, like relationships are really important to me and I really, really value them. And so I'm not a lone wolf. Even some of my friends and mentors who are more solo lone wolves, unlike me, I mean, I can be a lone wolf, but the ones who are like a lot more, I guess, avoidant than I am, like avoidant attachment style, right? Even they need human connection, right? That level of security, the serotonin you get from that, is important for survival. So I'd say like you need to fill your life up with that level of security, which comes from those relationships. And like I said, even if it's that one person, and that one person may be there for a few months and then you move on to the next, and then that person leaves and someone else comes in, and vice versa, right? I actually had this quite a bit. As I was transitioning, it wasn't on purpose, but I had some new friends come and then they would leave, and then other friends came and they would leave, and one person would come and they would leave. But even if I was someone I was dating, right? So be okay with that. No one else has to understand it. You don't have to justify yourself to anyone else. Remember, you never have to fucking explain yourself to anyone, right? And you never have to answer to anyone. If someone asks you about your life, you never have to give them an answer. You could say, I don't want to answer that, right? Or you just say, fuck you, right? You don't. You're not responsible. And if someone wants to think you're an asshole for saying that, let them, right? Because if they're already going to come at you in a negative way, they probably didn't like you to begin with. They probably didn't respect you to begin with. So then why do you care if you come off as a nice person to them or not, right? I digress here, but the point I'm trying to make here is that you just can't let, you know, the transitions you're going to go through, even with the group of people that you get closer to, while you're putting yourself out there, you can't let that, again, phase you and bother you, because you might go through some changes there too. But very important to have that social, that relationship outlet, right? Like many of the married men I talk to, miserable, hate their lives. Many of them hate their wives. Many of them are really struggling because they don't have a lot of friends. They go to those like boring married couple hangouts where like, they all talk about superficial bullshit and they can't wait to get home so they can go on their phone again, watch porn in the bathroom, right? So like if that's you, right, you need to find someone who can actually be there for you as a brother, as a friend, whatever it is, right? You need a sense of social connection that's rich and deep. I don't care if it's with one person, right? And I have made an effort to do this. I have struggled with this a lot when I went through phases of being single again, when I went through different phases of kind of leaving like a certain career where a lot of my friends were in and they didn't understand what the fuck I was doing. You actually never really know. Like me being a content creator, putting myself out there kind of isolated me and removed me from some of these other people. And I would never want that intentionally, you know? Some of them are still in my life, but it kind of just happens, unfortunately, right? So again, you need to make sure that you're not just becoming this lone wolf because you're re-identifying yourself. Because as you become a content creator, that's one of the things that happens. You are actually having a rebirth. You're having a reinvention, right? You're putting a version of yourself out there or creating a version of yourself you want to, that maybe the older people in your life have not seen and they don't want to see, right? A lot of people want you to be the same because if you're the same, they're familiar with that makes them feel better. When you start to change and show up as a different version of yourself, it kind of scares their brain. Maybe they're not even consciously doing it, but subconsciously kind of like freaks them out, right? So again, like if you don't have certain people, find someone or double down on the relationships you have, because you need that level of certainty. I would also say make sure that you have financial security, right? So other way you get that certainty as you're putting yourself out there, you're taking on massive uncertainty in your life, is financial security. What I would recommend if you're trying to monetize your content, doesn't matter how you're trying to do it, if you're trying to like post, you know, TikToks and dancing reels or whatever it is, or you're trying to do an online coaching business, whatever it is, right? You want to make sure that if you're trying to monetize it, you're not setting yourself up for more stress, okay? I think I can handle like crazy amounts of fucking stress, right? I've proven that to myself over the last several years. And I'm astonished at the things I've been able to overcome and go through again and again and again. And that's what makes me like, you know, really be like a fucking warrior, right? Like I know I can handle anything, right? And a lot of that has to do with being willing to take on big risks, right? It's not easy. I'm not saying you should always do that. But what I am saying is that you may not be in a position to quit your job and then go all in with content creation, because it may take you longer than you thought to actually monetize it, right? So then why would you do that? Why would you set yourself up for failure and more stress, right? So what I would do is I would figure out a way to create a plan, first of all, right? I'm all about like the 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, 1-year plan. Of course, have a longer vision, but you need a short-term one. Create those plans. I'm gonna keep this job, make X amount of money, or I'm gonna get a better job so I can make more money or work more jobs, right? Or if you currently have a business, you're gonna, you know, focus more on that to bring in more cash flow. This is the amount of time I'm gonna set aside to get it done. This is what I'm gonna think mentally and who I'm gonna be mentally to get it done, right? And then as you're doing that, you can go out and create content as well, because then you have this like financial security that again adds to the certainty that you need in your life, right? To balance the uncertainty of being a content creator. And then you're not constantly worried about money, because again, that is one of the biggest stresses any man or woman can go through, right? And so again, why would you do that, right? Like why would you pick the harder path? Pick the path of least resistance, right? Especially in these cases. A lot of people ask me like, oh, should I quit my job and just go on my coaching business? I'm like, if you're asking me that, like that's the wrong question. If you're asking me that, I'm always gonna say no, because you shouldn't be asking me, who the fuck am I? I mean, yes, you may look up to me as your coach or mentor or whatever. Great, thank you. But that's not something that can come from me. You have to bring that out of yourself. I never had to ask anyone, should I quit my job and go all in? I fucking decided that I'm gonna do this no matter what. I have no choice. I burned all the boats, right? And so I had to figure out a fucking way. I didn't go and ask a coach and mentor. Of course, there were lots of coaches and mentors I looked up to and learned from, right? They were part of my journey. But I didn't go ask anyone. I had to decide that. That's what I'm saying. You have to learn how to coach yourself. You have to learn how to talk to yourself. You have to develop a relationship with yourself. And some of you have never done that. And that's okay. Based on your background, based on how your life has been, you can start now, right? But if you're gonna ask me like, hey, should I quit my job, just go all in? Am I gonna be able to make X amount of dollars in 3 months, 6 months? Dude, like no one can tell you that. Like if you're asking me that, you gotta be a little cuckoo. You know, like honestly, you got to be living in the clouds. And trust me, I'm all about being delusional, right? That's how I manifest most of what I manifest. But I also balance that with practicality because as humans, we live in a very practical world as well, right? And that part of your brain and that part of your body and everything is a very real thing that you have to work with. So, you know, if you have to ask that question, no, don't quit your job, right? You need the financial security. So, yes, will that mean that you have to do more work? Yes. And then, you know what happens, and I've gone through different phases of this, actually the last several years, right? As I've been like building my coaching business, I took lots of breaks in between, just living life, focused a lot on my relationships and my social life. And maybe one day I'll talk about that more with you guys. But I've been able to like really, you know, just create a life where I know how much time I can take off. I know what financial risk is there, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not perfect for me either, right? I'm still learning. I think it's a lifelong journey, regardless of what level you're at. But I wouldn't recommend that any of you take on such a big risk because all you're doing is you have the uncertainty of putting yourself out there as a content creator. Now you're creating more uncertainty by also needing that to feed you and pay your rent and all that stuff, right? So just don't do it, right? Like I was saying, it will require you to put in more time after work, on the weekends, whatever. And of course, I think this is what I was leading to a couple of minutes ago, and I said it begs the question, is it worth it then? Right? Is it worth it? So then are you really doing it because you want to do it, or are you just doing it because you think it's going to make you some quick cash? Let me tell you, so that no one else is going to fucking tell you, okay? Whatever you decide to do as a content creator, yes, you can change, right? I can take this video down. I can never post it. I can change my entire messaging. I can show up with a suit and tie tomorrow, okay? Yes, but if you decide to go all in, and especially if you want to monetize your content, putting yourself out there, you will need to be prepared to do that at least for a few years, okay? If you really want it to be something. If you want to make your first million, whatever it is, you will need to be prepared to do it for at least a few years, if not much longer. If not much longer, right? So then are you willing to do that? So then then you have to ask yourself, is the goal for you to have, like for me, it was initially, of course, like I'm going to be a coach for life, right? But I want to kind of break this down for you. So I saw the potential for me, myself, putting myself out there, a content creator as a coach. And I love teaching people. I love helping others. I love creating an impact. It just feeds my soul. That's why I'm recording this video, right? Because it's actually going to heal me. It's going to make me feel better, even though I'm a little sick right now, right? And I'm going to be a coach for life. I love it, right? I love being able to help someone else, and I love getting coaching from others who I look up to, or who are one step ahead of me in the area of life that I want to improve, right? So I knew I wanted to do that when I found out about Tony Robbins, how he made like $1 million in 1 year back in the day, right? Going from being a janitor to doing that. Now, of course, he had to put in a lot of work. He read more books than probably any of you ever will in your life. Like, he was working on himself for several years, right? Before that happened. But the point being that I saw the potential, right? Brooke Castillo made her first $1 million a year as a coach, and I was like, whoa, right? So for me, that was the main thing, was like, okay, I can do what I love, impact people the way I want, and then I can make a bunch of money, right? And I don't have to do all this other shit, right? So after I became an MD, actually even while I was becoming an MD, while I was in med school, there were certain things I was realizing, like, I just didn't like about it. Could I have done it? Yes. Could I have finished my training and practiced full time? Yes, right? But it was like this self-sabotage that was there. I was continuing to kind of like not make progress in that because my heart just wasn't in it. And I've also learned this about myself, and I actually really respect this about myself as a man, is that I'm just not gonna do something because I started it. I'm not gonna finish something because I started it if I don't want to do it anymore. I have the right to change my mind, and I have the right to not give a fuck what anyone else thinks. Most of you are not doing that. And again, it's not easy, it's hard, but I'm willing to do that. So when I knew, like for me, getting my MD was very important. I just wanted to do that for myself. I knew how important that was for my parents too, so I wanted to do that, right? And I'm so happy I did. Like it really gave me the skills. Like me making my first $1 million, practically as someone who lived a retired life, helping people and coaching people, is for me because of what I went through in med school, right? It taught me the grit, the skills, the bullshit I had to deal with, the people I had to deal with, the admin, all of us have different shit depending on the school you went to. Then the difficulty of passing the first board exam, like all those things, right? For you, it may be something different. Maybe you haven't graduated college, maybe you haven't finished high school, right? Whatever it is, I'm not saying that all of you have to go through what I went through to develop the skill set, but I'm saying that for me in particular, that journey really helped equip me for what I wanted to do next, okay? So one, be okay with changing your mind and not giving a fuck what people think, right? That's really important. But again, in my journey, I kind of realized like this is how I want to live my life, and it would give me more time freedom, so I wouldn't have to be in a fucking hospital all day taking bullshit from attendings, right, for the next 3 to 5 years of my life. And then beyond that, I just really saw myself as if I went down that path. I should say that for a different video, right? If I went down that path, let's just say life would have been okay, but I think I wouldn't have been as fulfilled. I wouldn't have felt as alive as I am now. Some things would have been definitely easier, for sure, right? But overall, I just wouldn't have been as happy as I am now. And I think that's the whole point. That's the reason why we do anything, because of the way we think it's going to make us feel. So for me, it was, I want to be a coach, put myself out there, help people. I can't fit in a box. I'm not going to just do something that everybody else wants me to do. And then secondly, I want to make a fuck ton of money, right? Because there's a cap even with being, in a certain career. In my case, there was a cap also there. And I knew I could make so much more. Now, and a lot of people will kind of, again, assume that that's like dollar for dollar. Like that's not how it is, right? The amount of time freedom is the biggest thing. So if I'm making half of what I would have made in my traditional career, but I'm working less than half the time, right? I've still made more money because I'm having to work way less hours than I would have, right? Plus, aside from the hours you're working, it's like the stress level of that certain job, right? Like just different things that you can't really tangibly say this thing costs this much, right? So anyway, for me, because I knew I wanted to go all in, I did. And when I started to realize like I need the financial security, right? I started kind of messing around with different niches. And one of the things was empowering coaches, right? I experimented with lots of different things over the years before I really went all in. But one of the things was empowering other coaches, other people like you who want to create content. And I wanted to help them because I'd made like $1,000-$2,000 kind of off and on. And I wanted to help them make their first 1,000 because I know like how hard that part is. And I feel like once you do that, you can really take off. And of course, I liked the idea of me being the money guy, being like the businessman. I liked the idea of me doing that. I thought it was kind of fun. I'll kind of dive into those stories a little bit more later, but that's how things kind of lined up. And so I essentially went from being a life coach, helping people with certain things, to being a business coach, right? And I started helping people make their first $1,000 as a coach, then their first 10K, then their first 6 figures, right? Essentially replacing their 9 to 5. And I've helped hundreds of people through that in my programs and my courses and my coaching programs. But what that did was that, one, it provided me the financial security, right? 2, it gave me the time freedom, okay? Now, is business coaching what I absolutely love more than anything else? No, right? I never thought I would do business coaching. I love coaching in general. I love teaching in general on topics other than business, right? Like even topics like what I'm teaching you now isn't really business coaching. I mean, it can be. You definitely apply it to that, right? I consider this more just general coaching, right? For content creators at least, right? So honestly, like I made that choice because at the time, based on my own beliefs, based on the feedback I was getting, based on my need for financial security, I knew that helping people make money would make me more money much faster, right? And so I went all in. I made a decision to go all in on that. and I'm so happy I did. I would do it all over again, right? And it's been a really fun journey, and I'm going to continue to do it probably for a while, maybe for life, who knows, right? But I'm definitely going to branch out as well, do lots of like more general coaching, because I can now. I'm in a position where I can like go back to that, which is my original passion. And of course, in the entertainment field, and I love performing as well. So whether it's Bollywood or whether it's or wild content, we'll see. But you know, the thing is that that's how I did it, and it worked out for me because I made it work. You know that statement like, oh yeah, like this worked out for me. I'm pausing there because you are the one who makes something work, or you are the one who makes something not work, right? Nothing outside of you. So just remember that as well. Take responsibility. Now, I say all what I just told you because if you're wanting to transition to something that gives you more time freedom and more money, then, and you're willing to put in several years into sticking to that like focused offer or niche, what you're going to coach people on or create content on, then it's great, do it, right? But if you're not willing to do that, right? If the money you're going to make is not going to be worth it for you, if you want to create content on something totally different, you're not willing to spend several years learning how to market and sell yourself online, then I really suggest that you stick with the job or whatever income source you have now, or you go fucking get a job as soon as possible, start somewhere, whatever it is, and work your way up, Uber driver, Starbucks barista, like whatever phase of life you're in, and then decide, hey, I only want to monetize my content if I get to truly talk about the content I want to talk about. Or I want to, you know, you obviously will evolve and change, right? I'm not the same person I was 5-6 years ago. So my content's going to reflect that, right? And, you know, that's another approach you can take. Like, I want to be able to monetize content that I just have fun with, right? That I'm not relying on for money. So that's like another way you can go about it. But just ask yourself that question, right? Like, is it worth it for you to, you know, quit whatever you're doing right now to go all in on what you want to do for the financial security and the time freedom you'll get, right? Like for me, it was business coaching, and that worked really well, right? And I'm really fucking amazing at it too. But I think that's because I'm a fucking amazing coach. And I think I've developed those skills over the years, right? And so you don't have to be the best from day one. You don't have to be amazing from day one. Or do you want to continue the job you have or get a job, right? Or the side hustle, and then create content based on what you really love and are passionate about even more, and then figure out a way to monetize that at a really comfortable pace, which again, it could take a few years, but at least now you're having fun with it. You're not having to, you know, choose a niche when it comes to content creation that you know will give you a direct paycheck from day one, right? So I just wanted to be really real and honest about that, because I think a lot of people don't talk about that, and I don't know why, but I want to be the one person in your life who tells you the truth and just says it like it is, you know, so I can help you make better decisions on being a content creator and like what's really involved and what goes into it, you know, especially from like the uncertainty and certainty, right? So that covers the financial certainty part, right? Like you need a certain level of financial security, which will again create the certainty so you can balance it with the uncertainty of being a content creator and putting yourself out there, okay? So I'd say those are the biggest ones. Obviously, we can go over a lot more things, but you know, again, start somewhere. One of the things I would also do if you're kind of scared or like you stopped posting is I would just start again and just do it randomly. Like, you know, whenever you end up watching this, like give yourself the month. Like, I'm just going to post whatever comes to mind. I can always delete it if I want to, if I'm embarrassed, I'll just post it, right? And no pressure on yourself. Just kind of see how you feel showing up that way. If you don't know if you should pick one platform, multiple, try multiple. And then I promise you what's going to happen is, you'll feel better posting on one, stick to that one, right? A lot of people do ask, like, should I post on multiple platforms? And there's different answers depending on your situation. But in most cases, you want to start with one, go all in, right? And that's exactly what I did. And that's what helped me make my first $1 million as a coach, right? Because I went all in on one platform, and I didn't need a big following to do that. So I'd recommend one platform till you at least hit your first million, and even after that, you can stick to one platform, right? Now, for fun, like I said, if you want to be on multiple platforms, you can. A lot of the times, like, you motherfuckers look at people who have 1 million followers and you say, well, they're on Instagram and they're on YouTube and they're on TikTok. But yeah, bitch, they weren't on there in the beginning, right? When they were making their first $1 million, they weren't on every platform. Maybe they had a presence, but maybe they had like 100 followers on TikTok, right? And they weren't really concerned with that till they got to a level where they wanted to with the first platform. And it's not real, for me, it's not about followers. I mean, excuse me, eventually I definitely want more followers, but that's never been my focus right now, right? Focus in the beginning was just making money from, you know, putting myself out there, helping others. And then maybe in the second phase, I think maybe for the next few years, actually, I'm not gonna give it away. I'm gonna keep it a secret, right? But yeah, just focus on one platform. And remember, fuck everyone, fuck what they think. Put yourself out there, right? Fuck the haters. And the people that you're even afraid of in your mind. A lot of times there's no one actually hating on you. It's just in your mind, right? So also tell that part of your brain to fuck off, right? The fear-based part. And again, let the fear be there, let the nervousness be there, but you put yourself out there anyway. You don't have to know what your content's going to be about. You don't have to have an offer. You don't have to have a niche, nothing. Just start putting yourself out there. I don't care what it is, right? Even if it's a picture, if it's not a video like this, I don't care. It doesn't matter, right? No one cares as much as you do about your content. I will promise you that right now. No one, okay? So if you start somewhere now by being imperfect, you will get to a place where, again, you can express yourself the way you want to, you can show up the way you want to, you can experience that joy, that freedom that I'm feeling right now, just creating this for you, right? It feels fucking amazing. And then you can maybe monetize it, you can, you know, create offers around it, or maybe it's going to be for entertainment purposes, and you can grow viewers, and you can obviously monetize that too in different ways, right? So the world is your oyster, man. We live in the best time in the world, in the history of the world, because we have this available. You know, all of us are able to connect. You will find your tribe. You will find people who resonate with you. You will find people who like your message. As weird or as unique you may be, you may think you are, your people will find you if you consistently show up, right? It's just gonna happen. And that's how I made my first $1 million as a coach, right? So that's kind of just what I wanted to talk about today. Of course, there's a million thoughts going through my fucking brain right now. Other things I want to coach you on and talk about, but this video's gotten kind of long. And that's the other thing. People will be like, oh, make a 10-minute video. Make sure videos aren't more than 20 minutes. I don't give a fuck, right? Again, this I'm not even posting to monetize. If it helps one person, great, I'm happy, right? If it eventually helps more people, I'm happier. But I speak from the heart. I turn the camera on. I just start talking, right? So if you have to do that in the beginning. I don't care. And if someone comes to me and is like, hey, I saw your video, it was great, but it was a little too long. Maybe you want to make the next one happen. I'm like, bitch, you're not my fucking ideal viewer. Because my ideal viewer would never say that. My ideal viewer would never tell me that the video is too long. My ideal viewer would be fucking eating everything up that I say and talk about, right? They want the video to be longer. So again, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there about like, oh, content should be this and post at this time and the videos should be this long and the post should be this and the hashtag should be this. Just calm the fuck down, right? Don't try to get it perfect in the end. It's like telling a fucking 4-year-old kid to prep for the SATs, right? Like, they can't do that. They have to go to fucking pre-K first. Start with step 1, then work your way up, right? So just put yourself out there first. Don't worry about the algorithm. Don't worry about anything else. Start putting yourself out there. I promise you, what's holding you back is you over fucking thinking and then consuming all this content about how you should be a content creator and what's going to help you monetize and what's going to help you get more views. Nothing wrong with that. But I will tell you, most anyone that you actually follow who's honest with you will tell you about the burnout they experienced, the miserable experiences, and how it just wasn't worth it, right? So I'm here to help you create a new path, approach that, 1, will help you put yourself out there, then 2, help you feel better in the process of doing it, create that joy, freedom, and if you want, and as a result of that, if you monetize it, great. And if you're just doing it for fun, not to monetize, great. All right? So if you like this video, go ahead and comment below if you have any questions about content creation, let me know. And I'll see you in the next live video or post. Lots of love.